HFFL Primetime is presented by Miller Lite and approved by the men of the square table. Good call. And now, here's your host,
Dre, aka Beats by Dre, aka the HFFL Commish. Well, we had a very interesting start to week one, and I can just say season in general. We didn't have a preseason to go off of, so a couple of players had a couple of surprise performances. We had a couple of injuries, and I did make a list of pretenders and contenders. I was right on a few, I was wrong on a few, and for those of you that are kind of yapping about that, well,
Okay, a simple wrong would have done just fine, but
I think what we need to do this week is to kick it off to my favorite section of the league notes, and that's going to be the Welcome to the 2020 Week 1 of the Blitz. In true HFFL fashion, we got to kick it off with the defending champions matchup, that little motherfucker with glasses versus Get Gronked Up. And I think that we're all somewhat shocked at Get Gronked Up's performance. I mean, granted, we knew his running backs were going to perform when on the field, but did we know that this team was going to go off in the fashion that he did? He had the week's high score with a whopping 157.8, which still sounds awkward having to say a decimal. And as for that little motherfucker with glasses, he didn't do too bad considering that his RB2 was in question and he didn't start Mike Evans. Could he see a resurgence in Noah Fant for his team? Is Henry Ruggs all right to continue going forward for this team? Only time will tell. But I think Gronked Up has a message for not only that little motherfucker with H, but for the entire HFFL roster.
I'm Batman.
Our next matchup features two perceived preseason contenders with Champagne Papi and the 2020 champion. While Champagne Papi's team did absolutely great, especially Juju, he looks to be back on track with Big Ben. And while he didn't make the correct RB2 start, he does have a solid option in Raheem Mostert, and that did lead him to the second week's high score. And as for the 2020 champion, now named Trash, Lamar Jackson is definitely a player to be messed with, but I think that you should have took the advice that you had given yourself years prior.
Visionary move of the week. This is not necessarily the week. This is the visionary move of the preseason, okay? And I'm going to tell y'all who it is and who made the move. The person that made the move is me. I made the visionary. You know what? I am the original visionary. So since I'm the original visionary, it only makes sense for me to make the visionary move of the preseason. And what was it? The visionary move was to not draft Bell.
One of the next matchup's owner decided to take the Ezekiel Elliott route by starting the season out somewhere in Mexico. But that wasn't a problem, as his owner drafted a potential top 3 running back stud in Josh Jacobs. And while Sicko Mode's wide receivers didn't pan out the way he thought initially, I think he has just enough as long as his team can continue performing on this track to still remain a contender. And as for Kareem Pie, yeah, it did look good that Russell Wilson did get to cook, but I still think that What Republic bouncer is still having an effect on his fantasy football skills.
I am too.
Oh, fucking put your booty away.
This next matchup came down to the wire on Monday Night Football between Chubby Zeke Mo and Beats by Dre. And while both these teams had crucial injuries to their lineups, it was a play by Jonnu Smith that gave Beats by Dre his first win in over a year. So I think the entire Beats by Dre nation is feeling some sort of way.
Hey guys, look! 2nd and 9. The gain the yard! We got 1 yard.
The next matchup featured Albert's burner account versus Armani Tots. And what can you say? In true Armani Tots fashion, he started off on the wrong foot. And as for Albert's burner account, I think he has a solid core of not only running backs, but I believe his wide receivers should be good enough to keep this contender moving along in his contender status throughout the season. Last but not least, we have the main event Mafia versus Christian McChicken. The main event Mafia must feel really good getting the win, the top point score, and also making sure that he has a decent wide receiver too in Will Fuller after his performance. But it was Christian McChicken who had this sort of rendition when looking at his second round and now third round pick. To end the week, we're going to go ahead and highlight our current scoreboard, which has Get Gromped Up sitting at the top with 2 points and leading in PF. The other candidates with 2 points are Champagne Poppy, Sicko Mode, Beats by Dre, and Main Event Mafia. And I'm hoping you guys like that little motherfucker with glasses got a point even though he lost and is currently sitting in 5th over Albert's burner account who got the win this week. Thank you everybody for tuning in. And I like to end the segment by reminding everybody that
the first thing I ever learned in sports is if you're not cheating, you're not trying, and it's only cheating if you get caught. Now I'm done.
Now done.